In my opinion, Cade Cunningham is the single best NBA prospect that the draft has given us in the last 3 seasons. This includes a select but elite group of players, such as Anthony Edwards, LaMelo Ball, and Paolo Banchero, who we've covered before. Cade truly has the enchanting potential of the next great big ball handler with a spice of two-way potential. But first, let's talk about his scoring craft, and you see it on possessions like here. Here, Cade Cunningham utilizes a knee bend to generate power on a crossover. Cade then, after a couple strides, uses another crossover while maintaining a low dribble, and at the end utilizes a crafty floater at the basket to score. This play showcases what you would like about Cade as a driving prospect, maintaining a low dribble, quick and dynamic change of direction, and then a crafty finish at the hoop are things that have made Cade one of the most enchanting ball handling prospects in a very long time. You also see it on this possession against Anthony Davis, where again Cade utilizes a right knee bend to sell a drive before hard crossing from left to right, and utilizes elongated strides to get to the cup before finishing over Anthony Davis, one of the longest wingspans in the entire association, with a hoop shot to avoid Anthony Davis' imposing length. Cade actually loves that little hook over towering rim protectors. You see it on this possession as well, where Cade at the nail utilizes a half spin to get around his opponent. Cunningham then proceeds to get the ball from his right to left hand, where it's more advantageous for him to hit this hook shot over this rim protector. This type of hook shot isn't the only way that Cade showcases his craft around the basket though. You see it on a possession like here, where Cade, after a hard cross, utilizes inside leverage to gain positioning on his defender before lowering his shoulder into his defender to move him a little bit. Then Cade contorts his body at the rim to avoid the rim protector and finishes on the way down to make sure his shot has no shot at being blocked. This type of craft as a finisher showcases in Cade's film consistently, but Cade is far from a perfect finisher, with his lack of real verticality hurting his finishing at times. Cade drove to the basket 16.2 times per game, which is in the 92nd percentile in the entire association, so good. But he only shot 58.8% at the rim, which is, well, bad. But to take those numbers for face value would be very, very wrong. Cade, for one, is young. He's only 20 years old, and as he develops from an experience standpoint, and most importantly a strength standpoint, his finishing will improve steadily. But number two, and most importantly, Cade had one of the worst situations in the entire association. According to B-Ball Index, Cade was below the first percentile in the quality of the shot attempts he had at the rim. Things like the lack of a actual vertical threat and spacing around Cade that was below satisfactory contribute to this, and when contextualizing for these factors, Cade's finishing is in a much more positive light. According to B-Ball Index's rim shot making metric, which contextualizes for teammates and the quality of one shot, Cade Cunningham was in the 90th percentile in the entire league, which implies that while there is a lot of room for him to grow as a finisher, he is exceptionally good for a rookie. Another misconception with Cade's season is that Cade is a unsatisfactory shooter, but this is pure box score watching and only focusing on Cade's raw three-point percentage. Three-point percentage is extremely volatile, and Cade did not get to take a bunch of them, but the ones that he did take, he wasn't hitting very often. But from the things that we know about Cade, such as his volume indicators and his impressive 85% free throw percentage, we can assume that Cade has the overall touch and the energy transfer displayed on some of these shots to be a satisfactory shooter. Speaking of satisfactory, Cade has much more than a satisfactory ability to create opportunities for his teammates. The overall craft that Cade showcases as a scorer also showcases as a playmaker. Take this possession here against the Milwaukee Bucks, where Cade in the pick and roll is utilizing a slow, methodical pace before getting Bobby Portis in the air. Here, Cade moves Chris Middleton, who is covering up for an easy laydown read, by eyeing Saddiq Bey in the corner mid-jump, and as Chris decides to cover up for that pass, Cade is laying it down to his man for an easy layup in the air. This type of manipulation is usually preserved for much older ball handling prospects, but Cade is doing it at the ripe age of 20 already. Another important part of pick and roll ball handling is spatial awareness, and Cade has seemingly mastered that at a very young age. Take this possession here in pick and roll where Cade takes a very advantageous pathway. The type of pathway to the basket that cuts himself off from his defender who is trailing, unless said defender in drop coverage wants to concede a very easy laydown pass to Cade's big. Cade drifting towards the left side of the restricted area also forces the big to react unless the big wants to give up an easy pull-up midi or a floater. In turn, this leads to a possession where Isaiah Stewart is on a roll where the only guy who has a pathway to stop him is a tagging Reggie Jackson and a Eric Bledsoe who is in front of him. Cade then puts it into a relatively tight window with a bunch of hands around him and a bunch of congested bodies for a easy lay for Big Stu. Cade's interior reads are genuinely fantastic, but his skip passes don't lag far behind. Cade has shown the ability to consistently sling the ball on the move. Cade's velocity and accuracy on these passes make him one of the better skip passers in the entire association at a very young age. Cade is also a ridiculous transition playmaker with incredible passes like this one. Cade is obviously one of the most fascinating young offensive prospects in the entire league, but the defensive end is where he separates himself from a large majority of prospects. Take this possession against Donovan Mitchell, for example, where Cade opens up his hip. As Donovan Mitchell drives, he uses his inside arm to stay connected to Donovan, keeps up with Donovan stride for stride, and then at the end makes a smart, accurate swipe at the ball for an easy steal. You see these showcases of on-ball goodness from Cade routinely, like this possession against Anthony Simons, for example, where Cade does a very good job getting around this screen. Granted, the screen wasn't great, and as Simon is getting ready to pull up for a mid-range jumper, Cade is able to utilize his size as a recovery tool and block this shot. Cade's length and anticipation is a pretty big part of what made him a very solid rookie defensively, and when you combine that with okay fundamental strength, you get possessions where Cade is containing bigs on post-ups. Using one's length and ball hawking skills to bother bigger opponents in the post is a very necessary tool for being a versatile defender, and that's clearly something that Cade could be, an extremely versatile on-ball defender. While I haven't loved all of Cade's on-ball reps, it's clear that speed gives him a bit of an issue, and also I think his off-ball awareness could improve, as any 20-year-olds could. I think that it's very impressive that Cade was able to do specifically what he was able to do defensively, in combination with clear offensive upside that points to maybe superstar potential for the young Padawan, Cade Cunningham.